And round 9 comprising 3 separate races, all counting to percentage of the total points on offer. Bobby Burden Rowe, the winner of the last round at Castle Combe, led the early running. Martin Short taking victory from Bobby Burden Rowe with championship leader Flux in 4th. In race 2 it was Burden Rowe from Short with McKellar, Campbell Walter and Flux in close attendance. Smoke from Richard Martin's number 61 car, the legacy of an earlier incident, the now rubbing on the tyre. But Steve Cole, despite his veteran experience, was in trouble in the back of the field. Spun round number 55, Mark Preston, got hit very heavily by Troy Dunlop in the ensuing incident. Here Cole makes contact, around they go, and on the left of the picture, Dunlop has nowhere to go. So a red flag to stop the race meant a restart. So around they come. Very, very close together, this lead quartet, and once more they've dropped Ian Flux, and Flux is under pressure. Flux under pressure from Phil Hindley. And in fact, word comes through that Ian Flux is adjudged to have jumped the restart. And Flux will be dropped down the order. No matter where he finishes, he'll have a time penalty to contend with as well. Ian Flux, this is not his day. It may be Bobby Burden Rowe yet. He's eked out the margin to the checkered flag in race 2, so now it's honours even between Burden Rowe and Short. Croft for race 3, the third leg of the 9th round of the TVR Tuscan Challenge. Bobby Burden Rowe sits at the front of the grid ahead of Martin Short. Short and Burden Rowe have each led to the checkered flag in one phase of this race. Peter Wheeler hasn't, but then I'm sure he doesn't mind because he's the boss, and right behind him there, championship leader Ian Flux. Well, a little bit of bumping and boring at the start, the yellow flags wave, but the front rows get away cleanly. Bobby Burden Rowe leads from Martin Short. Into 3rd place with a very good start goes Jamie Campbell Walter. Number 10, Steve Hyde, in trouble on the outside. Will he recover from that? He may well do. This is the view across Bobby Burden Rowe's front wings. Burden Rowe leading around this first lap of the Croft circuit. Very crossed up under braking, but that's not under braking. He's been thumped up the back by Martin Short. The second time in the afternoon, Burden Rowe has been punted out of the race by the number 88 machine. And this time he will not have second place. He rejoins right at the back of the densely packed TVR Tuscan field. Jamie Campbell Walter right with them. And Bobby Burden Rowe driving a very strong recovery race. There's 55, Mark Preston's car, damaged in the second race and back out now after some sterling work by the team. And he is right in this group. But Bobby Burden Rowe is now trying to work his way through. Hindley side by side with McKellar. Oh, and it's a big accident. McKellar on the outside, spat off the curbs and across the road. Well, he's reversing out of the way. That's about all he can do. And Ian Flux caught up in that one somehow. Oh dear, what a disaster for Ian Flux. He is not having good fun here at all, and look at this, it's now pouring with rain, a sudden deluge as Martin Short leads them through. Jamie Campbell Walter in second, and everybody now will be really tippy-toeing around. These Dunlop controlled slick tyres have no grip at all on this wet road. I wonder how long this rain will continue. It seems to be moderately dry at the end of the straight there. Wipers still flailing on the windscreens. Bobby Burden Rowe still trying to make up places. Well, Burden Rowe fighting his way through this group. Oh dear, and they're helping him. Steve Hyde in a spin. Took off somebody else there out of our side as well, and oh dear, a ferocious waltz for Matthew Kelly in 22. Absolute deluge on this side of the circuit, almost dry still on start. It's like going onto a skid pan, just at the change of surface there. Absolutely soaking. And Peter Wheeler caught out just like everybody else. Well, the red flag flies, and I'm hardly surprised. Absolutely appalling rainstorm right in the middle of the race. They're ready to go again, though. A restarted race gets underway. A short, sharp shower, just enough to scare the living daylights out of everybody on their slick tyres. And what a good start for Jamie Campbell-Walter. He leads from Phil Hindley. So Bobby Verdon-Roe in third place, just ahead of him, Jamie Campbell-Walter, and ahead of him, the leader, Gavin Cooper. Well, that's been meteoric progress from the back of the grid for Verdon-Roe. Flapping in the breeze, Steve Guglielmi's bonnet, not much left of it, and what there is doesn't seem inclined to stay attached to the car. The battle of the hyphens. Inside goes Verdon-Roe. Campbell-Walter yields second place. Verdon-Roe to second. Campbell-Walter down to third. And Campbell-Walter will be watching Verdon-Roe very closely now for a chance to try and come back at him. Mark Preston on the move as well. He's passed Peter Wheeler and a handful of others, having a very, very good third section to this race. Steve Cole still going despite his troubles. Oh no, off into the gravel, and he joins the already abandoned car of Alistair McKeever. The yellow flags were out, but I wonder, no, the red flags do come out indeed, ending the race there with far too much machinery in the runoff areas. Gavin Cooper winning that third part from Verdon-Roe. Martin Short coming in ninth. Challenge season has seen the championship lead of Ian Flux slowly whittled away by the man of the moment, Bobby Verdon-Roe. Well, they'll be appearing in the main race. The top 6 in qualifying go through automatically to the front 6 slots on the grid. For everyone else, there's extra mileage in the qualifying race. 7th fastest in qualifying, and therefore on the front of the grid here, Colin Blower. Just alongside him, Tim Hood in the black and yellow machine. We ride with number 61, Richard Martin. We have views from his car as they leave the grid, and a good start by Blower. Colin Blower with a great deal of experience in these machines. Hasn't been quite as much on the front-running pace in 1997 as he would have liked, and most would have expected. But here, in the last couple of races, and perhaps now at Alton Park, a chance to see the Colin Blower of old. Streaming down the avenue, all safely through the left-hander at Cascades. The tail of the field has gone by, but here comes Martin Short. He blew an engine in qualifying, didn't do the requisite number of laps, and as a result had to start from the back of the field with a 10-second penalty. Already he has the headlights switched on, and his hopes of moving up the order. Exiting the Shell Oils corner, just ahead of us there is Mark Preston. First and second, the front 2 men from the grid, Colin Blower and Tim Hood. Through the chicane at Fulston's they go, and then starting to climb, power all the way over the crest here at Hilltop, plunging downhill, the long, fast approach to Knickerbrook. Wants a flat-out right-hand corner, but now with the chicane, Troy Dunlop there, the number 4 machine right behind our camera car. As they exit Fulston, starting to climb, bearing left up Clay Hill, still climbing as they come under full power, under braking here for the long double apex right-hander at Druids. Through they go, clouds of dust from the dry circuit, and then under the bridge, again, heavy braking, changing down and plunging over the top of the hill at Lodge Corner, down into Deer Leap. Accelerating hard as soon as the car is stable and will take the power across the start-finish line. And Richard Martin using all the revs he can, mustering every single one of the 460 brake horsepower from the AJP V8 in these identical TVR Tuscans. Well, with their control tyres, identical engines, identical chassis, and equally talented drivers, these are a real masterpiece to watch. TVR's thundering noise, enormous speed, and the closeness of the racing really makes this challenge such a favourite with the spectators. Colin Blower bearing the scars of some damage there on the right rear corner of the car. Great swathe of silver tape holding it all together. But he's holding it all together at the moment under relentless pressure from Tim Hood. The number 26 machine, the black car with the yellow on the rollover cage, and you could see how hard Hood was trying, the back stepping out as he snatched another gear under full power, chasing up the hill behind Blower. Third is Preston. Fourth is our cameraman Richard Martin. Just the telltale puffs of smoke from locked up tyres there as everybody leaves the braking to the final moment as they come into the chicane at Knickerbrook. And there is Martin Short picking his way through the traffic now. It's a long way to the front, but every place he picks up here, he'll be closer to the front of the main race. So Short, there he is, headlamps ablaze, looking to take another place here. Does so successfully. James Stevenson sees him coming in the mirrors. Little wave there, cavalier arm out of the cockpit gesture from Martin Short. And he appreciates that although he is racing these guys for position, they know that in truth he is one of the true front runners, and all they will do is hold him up and potentially spoil a good race for him and for somebody else. So they're letting him through. And that's the sort of gentlemanly conduct that we come to expect from the TVRs. These guys all take their racing very seriously indeed, but they also believe in the sporting atmosphere of the challenge, and that's the sort of thing that we like to see. Again, down under braking, changing right the way down the gearbox, hugging the inside curving here in this banked right-hand corner. Long looping Shell Oils corner, accelerating fast, and then just straightening up to brake for Fulstons. Avoid really thumping the curbs on the exit, they'll upset the car a great deal. Here comes the leader then. Colin Blower now with some advantage, 3 or 4 car lengths from Tim Hood. Mark Preston right with him. And then Steve Guglielmi has moved up into 4th position. The black nose of his car, the blackened flames, showing that he has passed our cameraman. Well, Martin Short moving up the field. Matt Doman just ahead in the pink car, his next target. May well meet our cameraman Richard Martin in his progress rearwards down through the order. He may even see Tim Hood. Hood very sideways there, 2 wheels on the curves and a broadside slide coming out of Druids. Hood's not careful, that may be the end of him. Well, Short now, sizing up Doman as they go into Deer Leap. A couple of cars ahead. There is the very obvious number 19 of Grant Tromans. Here is the battle for second place then. Tim Hood, 26, Mark Preston, 55 behind him. Preston really pushing hard. Steve Guglielmi now clear in 4th place and chasing down this second place battle for all he's worth. Behind him, Steve Cole is now up into 5th place. There is Cole. And here is single-seater racer Amanda Whitaker. Well, she can barely see where she's going. Halfway through the race, you can see the back of the car in very serious damaged condition. She making her way slowly back to the pits. Well, another race and her normal race car awaits her, but a battle for second place here between Tim Hood and Mark Preston continues to enthrall the spectators. So Colin Blower now just arriving at the Knickerbrook chicane. Tim Hood and Mark Preston very close together. Guglielmi next in. Then Richard Martin with Steve Cole in close attendance. Troy Dunlop. Then Grant Tromans trying desperately to outbrake the number 9 Gavin Cooper right ahead of him. Tromans now with Martin Short right behind him. And Short will be looking to pick up both of those places if he can. Ed Sharp out of the race. Car number 60. Only 5 laps into the race was as far as he got. So through come the lead bunch. And let's look back for Martin Short. Well, Short, Troman's not giving up the place that easily. These two are actually regular rivals. Short is now up towards the sharp end of the grid, and it will become more and more difficult for him to pick up the positions. Little wave out of the cockpit from Mark Preston as they turned into Old Hall, acknowledging, I think, a gentlemanly piece of driving by Tim Hood just ahead of him. And now we ride once more with our cameraman Richard Martin. Martin staring down the yellow rear end of Steve Guglielmi's car. Guglielmi black at the front, yellow at the rear. Very confusing if you're seeing him coming or going. Martin staying in contact, like the others I'm sure, running out of tyres and brakes. Very wayward Gavin Cooper exiting Shell Oils. He seems to be running out of tyres, running out of options as well as Martin Short lunges down the inside. Cooper holds him off, but I wonder for how long. Gavin Cooper in quite some discomfort, having ripped his neck in practice. Well, Martin Short looking around both sides at the same time as they come down to Knickerbrook, outbreaks himself, goes across the grass, but he pulls over, points to Cooper, says, right, you go past, I picked up that place unfairly there. And of course, by missing out the chicane, you really do pick up quite some advantage. Short, again, gentlemanly conduct being shown. I'm sure Gavin Cooper will battle him for the place all the way to the flag as a result. Well, the checkered flag awaits Colin Blower now. The battle behind him will, it seems, be decided in favour of Tim Hood. Hood holds on to second place. Yes, crosses the line just ahead of Mark Preston in third. Guglielmi, Steve Cole and Troy Dunlop, the other top six finishers. Martin Short going through the picture there. He would normally have been penalised 10 seconds for running over the Knickerbrook chicane, but because he allowed his competitor back ahead of him, he was not. But on the warm-up lap for the second race, Martin Short was out of the action anyway. His differential failed, and that may well have been a legacy of that little grassy moment. Here is the man of the moment, Bobby Verdenroe. All right there, Bobby. Thumbs up from him on pole position. Jamie Campbell-Walter alongside him. And Ian Flux, the championship leader, third, with Rod Gretton in the staringly pink car alongside him in fourth on the grid. Well, interestingly, Gretton has laid good money that he will be first into the first corner in this race. Well, he's thinking about starting before the red lights go to green. Away he goes, we'll ride with him. He's past Campbell-Walter. Oh, and fluffs it. First to fourth, can't find second, can't find third. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Rod Gretton loses a bundle full of places and a pocket full of fivers at the same time. What a disappointing start. And he nearly made it as well. The leader, though, oh, look out, that's Ian Flux right behind the leader, Bobby Verdenroe. The rearward-facing camera, the ideal position on Verdenroe's car, since he has been the front runner in this championship in the last 9 races. And unbelievably, Ian Flux is waving to him. Hello, goodbye, or maybe thank you for giving me enough breathing room to actually complete the manoeuvre. I'm not quite sure whether that was a little sarcastic wave or genuine appreciation of some thoughtful driving. But whatever, Flux leads it from Verdenroe. Campbell-Walter in third place. And right behind him, Phil Hindley, and then Rod Gretton. So Gretton picking up places again. Phil Hindley there in the silver car, hounding Jamie Campbell-Walter. But look at this, coming back down inside Gretton is Ian McKellar. McKellar started behind him on the grid. Gretton had only just managed to work his way up into fifth, and McKellar now disposes of him in one fell swoop. So here come the leaders then, the 2 white cars, Flux and Verdenroe, Campbell-Walter third, Hindley fourth, and then our cameraman chasing down McKellar. Well, Flux leading at the moment, and he led an awful lot of early series races, but in the last 9 races of the championship, don't forget this is round 10, Verdenroe has won 6 races to date and finished second in the other 3 that he didn't win. So Bobby Verdenroe has had a very, very strong season indeed, and is now really the man on form. Oh dear, slightly out of sorts, number 34, Matt Doman. He started 15th on the grid, just behind Martin Short, or a row behind Martin Short, and exiting Old Hall in not the approved conventional manner. I don't think the racing driver school will give him many top scores for that one. So the leaders heading down to Shell Oils. Rod Gretton is too, staying out to the left on the brakes. Too far out to the left though, he's left the door open. Oh, and Colin Blower comes up inside. Gretton spins. Now he's bounced up onto the grassy bank on the inside, and that's quite a drop for a TVR off the inside. So he turns it round, trying to find a way back onto the track, and cars streaming by him all the time. That's a shame for Rod Gretton. Headlights ablaze on Bobby Verdenroe and Jamie Campbell-Walter's cars. Campbell-Walter very close indeed to the tail of Verdenroe. The 2 hyphens battling it out for second place. Ian Flux, no escape for him though. And Flux is struggling with a problem here. Rod Gretton trying to pick up places now, has rejoined. running down towards the Nickenbrook chicane, slips down inside number 12, picks up the place from John Reed, and just ahead of him is the 21 of Martin Crass. There he goes, chasing Crass as hard as he can. So as I mentioned, Ian Flux struggling with a problem from the opening lap of the race. He felt the back end of the car starting to move around a little bit, and gears very hard to come by for Flux. In actual fact, after the race, the team would find that his differential housing had started to work its way loose on the car, and as a result, the gearbox and rear axle moving around, and that making life very difficult indeed for him. Riding now with Phil Hindley in 5th place, chasing down the lead quartet. Oh, Giles Cooper down the grass, the yellow car on the inside there, and is that Matthew Wurr, the 99 car, the red car with the yellow wheels. Styrofoam corner markers all over the place. Cars going over the grass on the inside and on the outside. Rod Gresson with his hand up, Martin Crass has as well. Gresson going down the escape road at the bottom of Cascades, around the short track here, in fact, at Oulton Park. We'll have to wait a moment or two for the rest to catch up. Well, the leader's still racing, but no, a hand out to the cockpit. Campbell Walter just arrives there as Breton comes through the chicane, has no idea what on earth is going on. Sticks his hand out to the cockpit to let the car behind know that he's slowing down. Well, there is Matthew Wurr walking away. These TVRs may have like fiberglass bodywork, but boy, are they strong underneath. Hand out to the cockpit as well for Ian Flux. Well, now, what was that? Was he waving Bobby Verden-Rowe through, or had he seen something that Verden-Rowe hadn't? Well, no flags at the marshal's post. Flux seems to be waving again as they come to the line, though. The green and yellow squared flag is out. That means assume a pace car situation, slow down, stop racing. We want to clear up the mess. And there is the mess that they will be clearing up. And the drivers, the race continues incidentally, but the drivers at a very slow pace while the marshals get on with the vital work of clearing the track. There is the sorry sight, the TVR Tuscan of Matthew Wurr being towed off the track, and after 3 slow laps, drivers weaving to bring some heat into the tyres as Bobby Verden-Rowe leads them around to resume racing. This time they get the green flag. So Bobby Verden-Rowe leads from Ian Flux, Jamie Campbell-Walter in 3rd. Then there is McKellar and Hindley. The slippery surface markers are out at Old Hall Corner, just to remind everybody of the amount of dust and debris out on the circuit. Riding again with Phil Hindley. He's in 5th place, the silver-nosed car at the back of this crocodile. Well, now, just before the race suspended situation, Bobby Verden-Rowe had sneaked past the leader Ian Flux. Flux in some mechanical problems, now waves past Jamie Campbell-Walter. Through 2 goes Ian McKellar. Flux knows that every place he gives away takes points away from him and allows Bobby Verden-Rowe to close more in the championship, but it is vital that Flux at least try and finish this race if he can. Any points at all are better than losing them with a bad handling car in an accident while racing somebody. So he's already waved Phil Hindley through. Flux is now down to 5th place. Our cameraman Rod Gresson is right behind him, but Rod Gresson used a shortcut around the circuit and actually has not done the full distance of the race. Well, Simon Harris here won't get to do the full distance either. In fact, 3 drivers, Rod Gresson, Dennis Leach and John Reed, all went down the short Foster's Loop after the accident that befell Matthew Wurr, Peter Wheeler, that resulted in the pace car style situation, and they have all been doctor laps, although they seem to be well up the order. There they are, in fact, or there at least is the number 2 machine of Rod Gresson. He is in effect a lap down. Well, riding again with Ian Flux, plunging down the hill into Cascades. Flux holding on now for all he's worth. Bobby Verden-Rowe with a couple of car lengths advantage. Right behind him, though, and always a threat, is Jamie Campbell-Walter. Looking back from Verden-Rowe's machine. There goes Campbell-Walter, extreme left of the picture. Ian McKellar looking very, very feisty indeed behind him. McKellar can sniff a chance of moving right up the order here. Oh, and a big lock-up. And into the tyres. He didn't save it. Well, that was the number 14 we saw going down the grass earlier, Giles Cooper, after the collision that involved Matthew Were, and I wonder whether perhaps there's a legacy of that earlier incident in there. Jamie Campbell-Walter has just lost second place, and Rod Crescent, unaware of his penalty, has eased his way, well, shouldered his way perhaps past Ian Flux. In actual fact, at the end of it, that won't be another position lost for Fluxy. But Flux still fighting his car all the way through this race. 61, Richard Martin, carried our camera earlier on in the race. And there is Matt Doman, who we saw disappearing off backwards right at the beginning of the event. So Jamie Campbell-Walter now down to third place. Ian McKellar ahead of him. McKellar has dealt with Campbell-Walter. What can he do about Verdon Rowe? Could it be that with Flux striking problems, Verdon Rowe will not win this race? I'm sure Bobby would like to think otherwise. Ian Flux fighting hard with Colin Blower. Blower won the qualification race, don't forget. Started 7th on the grid for this main race as a result. Blower looking to pick up positions. Hasn't been the greatest of championship seasons for him, of the many that he's done in TVR. But things have been getting better in the last couple of rounds. McKellar very late indeed on the brakes, and that will not have helped him at all. Bobby Verdon Rowe laying big black stripes from those rear Dunlop slicks as he spins them up, using all the horsepower that the thundering V8 of these TVRs has got to offer. So a very untidy entrance into the corner from Ian McKellar has not helped his efforts at all. He's got the headlamps on. Well, Bobby Verdon Rowe's already got his on, and I don't think Bobby will be out-psyched by a headlamp or two. Jamie Campbell-Walter still very close to McKellar, though. And McKellar will have to watch his step. Phil Hindley in 4th place. A little bit lonely on his own here. 3 seconds away from the 3rd place battle. Oh, here comes Matt Doman. Will he find room? Just finds room to go down the inside of John Reed in the number 12 car. But the TVR engineer was a lap down anyway, so he almost needn't have bothered. Here's the checkered flag, and Bobby Verdon Rowe wins his 7th race of the series from Ian McKellar and Jamie Campbell-Walter. Ian Flux only 6th here, and that allows Verdon Rowe to close to 23 points from the leader as they go to the next round.